Welcome into another edition of Sport Ball with Squam, Stogie, and Skulldog. I'm Sam. With me, as always, are my good friends Seth and Kyle. Boys, how are we?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I am.
I'm fine.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Yeah,
Kyle?
Kyle, a.k.a. Stogie Barone, a.k.a. Thicky Rubio. I'm doing well.
You want to explain to our 5 listeners why we are now calling you Thicky Rubio?
So, as you all know, Ricky Rubio is, maybe you could say, famous for wearing his hair. He's got the long hair. He's got the nice flow.
Chilling with no makeup on?
Huh? Yeah. He'll often put it up on the top in a little bun and leave the rest flowing, you know? Get the back going. And at this point in my life and my hair growth, I'm at that same stage. So if I do the same, I mean, we all know I'm a wizard on the court just like Ricky is. So you might as well from now on just call me Thicky Rubio because I'm thick.
Thicc thick, though.
Yeah.
Nice. So we wanted to...
I'd like to interrupt, though.
Already?
There's
It's
a
been a minute.
There's a public service announcement. I said I might not say much on this, but this is a barring news.
Barring news?
Yeah.
Look at
It's
that.
not barring any news.
It's news about a new bar opening up.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly it.
Barring any other news, this is news.
So, public service announcement. Do we all here know what a top knot is?
Is that what you just described?
Isn't that what you just described?
Kind of. So,
I already
It's
know.
like Aaron Baines?
yes. So, short on the sides, and you keep a little bun thing up top. You got a little knot, right?
A top on the top. A
Yeah,
top knot.
On the
a
top,
knot on the
you
top.
say.
But I'm making a movement to when people have the Ricky Rubio, aka Thicky Rubio hair, when you got the long hair flowing, this should now be called a millennial mullet.
Millennial mullet.
A millennial mullet, because who's doing this? Millennials, right?
And what are mullets?
Mullets, business in the front, party in the back.
Exactly.
But if you got a millennial mullet, you're naughty on top with a party in the back. That's my 2 cents. Get it going.
That's worth 3 cents at least. Honestly, that might be $1 million idea. Should we start that now?
Yeah.
I just made a
How do we
public
make money
service.
off of that? Sure.
All right, so we wanted to take this podcast to talk about some...
Forest Park.
It's
Your apartment.
coming in
on the
live
couch.
from Forest Park. Beautiful, sunny Forest Park. Actually, it's raining, I think. We wanted to talk about some topical things in the NBA.
Topical cream?
Like a cream, exactly.
An ointment?
Correct,
Applied
yes.
to the hands?
So I want to start off with the garbage fire that's occurring in Washington, D.C. It's on the corner of whatever the arena is. So the Wizards have apparently said that everyone is up for grabs.
We're trading everybody.
First come, first serve. And John Wall apparently
First come, first
went
serve.
off on Scott Brooks and said, fuck you or something.
Whoa.
I mean, I don't want
It's
to mince
John Wall,
words.
so...
Yeah, and so I don't know. You guys want to talk about maybe some potential trades for any of those 3 players? Where you see what the Wizards have to do from here on forward? Either of those things.
Well, as everyone knows, John Wall is the one who needs to get traded, but is going to be the most difficult to move.
Yep.
Bradley Beal would be the one that they would most want to hang on to, but would be the easiest to trade and would get the most value in return.
Correct.
And I think Otto Porter Jr. is somewhere in the middle.
I would report a senior though.
He's a trade asset for sure. But Otto Porter Jr., I think they'd be fine holding on to him if they have to move him in a package to get rid of Wall and get something else back. I would do that. I think they should be looking at some of the... Bill Simmons was talking about this the other day, like some of the desperate teams in the league who just want to, who know they're not going to like make the playoffs, make a run at the finals, but just want to sell tickets. So he mentioned the Pistons. I don't know if... Honestly, the West
That honestly makes the
standings
most
is
sense,
so
though.
like messed up right now, which we're going to get to. It's like hard to tell which teams are going to be where, but maybe there's a team out west that would take him. I mean, if multiple teams are willing to take shots at Carmelo Anthony, you would think that someone would take John Wall, but his contract is just so devastating that
Yeah, so
they're probably going to have to give up some draft picks or something just to be able to unload him.
let's talk about contracts. So, I think John Wall is making like $19,000 or something this year. $19,000.
Wow,
Right.
that is.
He's working a part-time job at the Starbucks, but he's making like $19 million this year. But then kicking in next year is his extension, and he'll be making like $40,000. $40,000. He'll be making.
He got a raise at the Starbucks.
He'll be making like
promoted to assistant manager.
He'll be making like $40 million every year, and by the last year, when he'll be probably, I don't know,
45 when he's like 36.
When he has one knee and a large gut, he'll be making $46 million a year. Oh my god, I got choked up just saying that number. So that, I mean, name one team in the league that will pay that money. I don't know if there is one, and that's the one player that they really, I would think, need to trade. Whereas Bradley Beal, if you click on the right tab on my computer, is their best player now, I think, and he's making only $22 million a year. And I think it's a very tradable contract. I think Bradley Beal is pretty, I think, plug and play on any team, wouldn't you say? Doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands all the time, and you can almost make a Bradley Beal trade with every playoff contender in the league.
Well, you can't plug and play him onto the Wizards, apparently.
Apparently not. No one can be plugged and played on the Wizards. They're on fire. Yeah. And then Otto Porter, on the other hand, makes more than Bradley. I think I'm looking at about $28 million. And if I had to bet my life on him making an All-Star game ever, I would say no.
I think he'll make it 2-1 as a spectator.
Much like the Bears will get tickets to the Super Bowl. Are you really looking up jerseys right now?
Kyle's dialed in.
Kyle, what do you think about any potential trades for those three?
I think you guys kind of hit it right on the head. Like, John Wall is obviously the one that should go, but his contract makes it near impossible. I mean, statistically, last year, they were better when John Wall was injured and off the court for however long he didn't play for.
Tomas Satoransky.
Yeah,
a star in this league.
Yeah, Satoransky's nice and you're feeling well. And, I mean, you got playmakers around him like Bradley Beal and Otto Porter and Markieff. And I just don't think that Wall, with his contract, they're going to be able to do such a thing. So I think the next best option is getting what you can for Bradley Beal. And I think you can get a decent amount for him. I mean, he's a great scorer. So any team could really use that and figure out how to use that.
And he's a great shooter, too. He can space the floor. He doesn't need the ball in his hands.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know really what they're going to do. I think you also have to kind of start talking about coaching changes. Like, Scott Brooks doesn't have a hold of the team. Mm-hmm. He's a terrible coach anyways, which we talked about last podcast. And I think it's rebuild season. I mean, they kind of thought they might have a shot at Durant a couple years ago, and that didn't pan out. And after that, they just spent their money on the players that they had on their team instead of trying to make the team better elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of their downfall.
I just don't think... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, is John Wall the most untradeable contract in the league?
Yeah, I would say so. Wouldn't you?
Andrew Wiggins comes to mind.
Yeah. That's true, John.
I don't know how many years they have left. I would assume Wiggins has a few more years left in his contract than Wall. But
Wallace hasn't even technically started yet, so I'd say he's probably more untradeable. I would say that it's funny because we talk about these players. We talk about Bradley and Otto Porter. And we say, oh, man, Otto Porter 3 and D, you can really play him anywhere. Bradley Beal, great shooter off the ball, doesn't need the ball, really play him anywhere. But yet the Wizards can't figure it out with them, even though they're potentially the perfect players to place alongside a star like John Wall.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's just more of a chemistry issue than anything. And I think it's funny that the Wizards had all this chemistry issues last year, right? And
bring in Dwight Howard.
Yeah, they brought in Dwight Howard, and they said this will be fine. It's like they like laid out newspaper, poured oil over it, and lit a match, and then were surprised when it started to flame. Oil? Can you burn oil?
Yeah, it burns a lot, actually.
All right, cool.
I think
that was a great analogy in that case.
Job.
I think it's interesting to note that after that big spat at practice with John Wall and everyone, Bradley Beal came out and said to a reporter, like, I've been dealing with this for years.
Yeah.
So it's like he seems fed up too, and
right. That's
be,
and that's why the one person you want to trade is John Wall. He seems like to be the problem, right? But you just can't trade that contract, and now that's their point guard for the next 5 years. It has to be. I don't know who's going to trade for him, so they're probably just going to have to try to trade Bradley and Otto or one of the two, and try to rebuild from there. But are you really rebuilding when you know that your point guard can't work with other players well? You know,
I would honestly just trade John Wall and like a first round pick for like Luol Deng. Or somebody worthless, like
I don't know. Damn well Tibbs will not give up Luol Deng.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be very hard to fix that franchise. They're currently at 6-12, which isn't the best record you could have at this point.
It would be 18-0 actually.
Do we think they still sneak into the A seed if they decide that they don't hate each other?
No. Next question.
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor. They actually have a better record than the New York Knickerbockers, which is shocking because they should be playoff bound.
Yes.
So we have no more thoughts on the Wizards?
I do not.
I've said it before, I'll say it again, their ass. The only thing that can save them is Harry Potter.
Alright, let's move on to kind of the fallout from the Jimmy Butler trade. So last time we talked about Jimmy the Butt Butler, he had been traded just, I think, a day or two before, and they hadn't had any games yet. So since then, the Timberwolves have looked rejuvenated. They've looked happy for once. Cat has looked happy, certainly. Are they still 8-11? Certainly, but I think they seem happier for sure. And the 76ers are in third in the East. Jimmy Butler already hit a game winner the other day.
And a game-saving block right before that.
And a game-saving block right before that.
Although they just lost to the Cavs.
Right, and after the game, Joel Embiid said they lost because the Cavs are actually the favorite in the East, as Tristan Thompson said before the season. So, what do you guys think about how this trade has worked out for both teams so far?
Definitely like it for the Wolves. I think even if they're not going to be good enough in the short term, they probably would have been out on, like, Jimmy would have left at the end of the year anyways, but at least they get some return for him. And I think Covington and Saric are both guys that are good chemistry guys for them, work hard, people that Tibbs is going to like for as long as he's around. Still kind of in a bind with the Wiggins contract, like we said, but Wolves fans should definitely feel a lot better now than they did at the beginning of the season when we were just in this Jimmy Butler purgatory.
This morass.
Yeah.
I think that this is the classic period where you trade away a disgruntled player and things are very rosy for a while, but, soon they'll realize that they don't have Jimmy Butler anymore. What? And I think that loss of talent would probably make them miss the playoffs, but I agree that in the long term they can kind of refocus on building around Cat in their future, maybe try to trade Wiggins if it is at all tradable, like we said, and go from there. I think their future is brighter.
Yeah. I think the Jimmy Butler edition, like I talked about and we talked about when he first got traded, was a great thing for Philadelphia. It opens up the floor a lot. Taking Markel, I can't shoot for shit, Fultz.
That is his nickname.
I pump fake free throws.
Oh, I want to say that I actually heard this. I don't know how much this is true. So, over the last couple of weeks, Markel fired basically his shooting coach and is no longer speaking with him.
Right.
And also, first I heard he was going for a shoulder checkup. And then I heard there's a problem with another part of his body that I can't remember. And he's getting that looked at and also wants to join a different team.
Good. Get him off the team.
So, I don't know what's going on there, but that's honestly the craziest situation I've seen in the NBA in my lifetime, I think.
I think, though, since joining, Ben Simmons kind of didn't look lost when, during Butler's first game or 2 or 3, whatever, but it wasn't, he didn't look the exact same, before Butler entered that equation, but now, the 3 or 4 games afterwards, up to now, it looks like they're already a lot more cohesive. Like, you see Jimmy scoring 20 plus a night, and B still doing his thing, 20 plus, with double-doubles every night.
Embiid's honestly an MVP candidate right now.
Yeah, he's up there for sure. And Ben Simmons is now back to damn near triple-doubling every night. And it obviously helps having J.J. Redick out there as a starter as well. You know, a shooter that could spread the floor. And then Wilson Chandler's been getting more and more minutes.
You know, he's a Stogie boy.
Yeah, coming back from that injury. So,
yeah.
like I said before, I thought they were like a 1 or 2 seed in the East. I still stand by that. Their bench depth, though, is kind of troubling the more I look at it. I think they still might try to make a move or two to kind of add some depth for them because, like Muscala's a perfectly fine play 12 to 15 minutes a night and be decent on defense and can provide some scoring. But after that, I mean, you don't have a whole lot, I feel like. So
Well, first of all, your lender Shamet, who has, I wouldn't say he has Shawn Livingston arms, but he's getting there. I wanted to say, what were we just talking about? Oh, yeah. I wanted to say that, what Jimmy Butler has really unlocked for them is they had a kind of excuse to move Markelle Fultz to the bench quietly, you know? Ooh, we have Jimmy now, so I guess we had to move him to the bench, which they didn't really have to do, but they wanted to.
Do you think they whispered to him, like, hey, you're not going to be starting anymore?
Yeah, probably.
And they did that quietly?
And he probably folded like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Because he's just not a very good basketball player right now. Is he good at other things?
Tough to say.
And so, I don't know, do you guys think that the 76ers have a real shot at making the finals now?
Yes. I said it before. I'll say it again.
I think they need to add a couple more pieces, whether it's depth. I know Chandler is a Stogie boy, but he just doesn't feel like a player
He's not a
who's
squammy
going to
boy.
see crunch time minutes for a team going to the finals. So I think whether it's in free agency or they make another trade, if they're somehow able to, if Fultz puts together, a couple of weeks where it looks like he can kind of shoot and they trade him away for somebody, for a veteran. Or
Well, I think on the buyout market, they'll probably do well, don't you?
Yeah. So I think depending on how that goes for them the rest of the season, they definitely have a shot, and they're in the top tier of teams in the East for sure.
I would say any of the top 4 have a chance of making the finals. The Raptors, Bucks, 76ers, and Celtics. Even the Pacers, probably.
Pacers look nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Aaron Holiday's... Is it Aaron Holiday's brother? Drew Holiday's brother. Aaron Holiday.
Justin Holiday.
Justin Holiday?
Isn't he on the...
They have a third brother?
Yeah.
There's the one brother you never think about, like the plumber. Yeah.
Yeah, he, with, my God, what's his name? Their star shooting guard.
Victor Oladipo.
Victor Oladipo.
This man has a thing with names.
It's, yeah, it behooves me to.
I feel like you used that very incorrectly.
Who's to say? Either way, he's shown that he can come off the bench, though, and provide a lot of scoring and still distribute the ball. I think he's making a name for himself to be the backup point guard on that team or backup shooting guard. And Domantas Sabonis is
he's nice.
Yes, he is nice. I think I don't know what it is for the Pacers. They don't want Miles Turner to be relegated to the bench,
right.
But they just play so much better when Sabonis is on the floor.
That's an interesting thing to watch with the Pacers because you can't really play them together. It hasn't worked for them.
They don't do
and
that.
Sabonis is honestly better than Miles right now. I mean, I'll say it. Will I be the first to say it?
No, he's been better than Miles Turner for a while.
Yeah, I think since last year.
And I think it's just because Miles is was supposed to be their franchise player. They're a little
they signed him to that contract.
I mean, politics matter in sports, and they're, I mean, who is to say whether they're all Democrats or Republicans, but they don't want to just relegate him to the bench after giving that big contract, but maybe he could be a trade piece for a team looking for a young big man.
Could be
what
tough,
is
though,
his
with that.
contract? Is it that bad?
I think it's kind of crazy, actually. Like it's not like up there.
It's not John Wall bad.
No,
certainly.
it's not John Wall bad, but you're gonna look it up right now. So
yeah, I'm not as good at in podcast research as you are, though.
Yeah, we'll figure it out though. You'll get there one day. They signed him for 4 years.
You're already on it? Oh,
no, I'm just reading. 4 years for how much?
it's almost $10 million.
Yeah.
Wait, that can't be right.
An underproductive big man in a league where
No, 4 years, 80. That's his
Yeah,
upcoming contract.
He just got a
extension.
new contract.
Yeah, he
extension.
just got extended.
4 years for 80. Yeah.
That's not terrible for.
But he's not worth that.
Well, I could see someone in the league though taking. It's not like John Wall. We already know who John Wall is, right? Miles Turner. They're going to look at him as kind of like unlocked,
Who is Miles
untapped
Turner?
potential.
He is the odometer.
Does he have multiple passports? What's his real? Is that even his real name?
Why did you look at me like
It's
that?
not like John Wall, someone that we know,
He's like more of a Jason Bourne.
right?
Did you call him the odometer?
Yeah, that's his nickname.
Was it?
Yeah.
Is it Miles?
Because he's a Miles Turner.
Oh my god! Did you just come up with this?
No, this has been a known thing. At least I thought.
He's a
That's
Miles
amazing.
Turner.
I saw this thing that it was a meme of this woman being interviewed on some
Mame.
talk show, and she was being interviewed for this best-selling book that she wrote, and her name is Paige Turner.
I mean, at that point, you know
She
what
was
you have
born
to do.
for this.
Yeah, she was born for that job.
But yeah, I really like the Pacers still.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could certainly win a playoff series against any of those top four. I think
The Raptors are really scary, though. I didn't think this was going to happen.
the
I never thought
Raptors.
we'd be here.
I have a bone to pick with the Raptors
Don't even
because
say it.
okay, I won't.
Pascal Siakam.
It's the femur bone because yesterday, and by yesterday, of course, I do mean yesterday. Very rare.
I'm shocked by that news.
They debuted their new OVO uniforms for stupid little Drake, who I hate with all my heart. That's it. That's my only bone to pick with them.
Fair enough.
Otherwise, they've been playing good basketball.
Great basketball.
They've gelled much quicker than I thought they would. But hey, here we are, 16-4.
It's interesting how they gelled and the Celtics haven't.
It is. Good segue. Except we have something else to talk about. Two more
Just
things
go
before
ahead.
that. But I'll go ahead. You know, this is a podcast where we can just.
This is a podcast. Thank you.
This is a podcast. Wait, we're recording.
Yeah, actually, I've had a mic on this whole time.
Okay, I've been bamboozled. So, why are the Celtics ass? Good question.
There are only
They're not.
they're 10-9. Yeah.
So, Gordon Hayward is obviously not himself yet.
Who is he?
He's more of a Jason Bourne type. And
Kyle's getting very
We're off the
disgruntled
rails
with
so
us.
soon.
Bill Simmons was talking about this as well. Like all 5 of their starters are low energy, and I think I agree with that. I think bringing in like one of the Marcuses or even like starting Baines, I think might be the way to go, and just kind of balancing out some of the different personalities. And we were talking about on the football podcast about players who can electrify the offense. Like the Celtics thrived last year because they were this underappreciated team of young players who were overperforming, and they would thrive off of each other's energy, hit a big three, get a transition dunk, play really good defense, get steals, force turnovers, and then now that energy you just feel like isn't there. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been to a game this season, but just watching on TV, you can tell. And so, and plus, I think everyone is worried about everyone else's ego and not wanting to, like, Gordon is not trying to shoot really ever. He's not getting to the basket. He's not getting free throws. He's not really hitting open threes either. And so I can see why he is taking his time, and I think it's important to give him minutes so that he can hopefully get acclimated and reach his potential towards the end of the season.
Sure.
But I think Brad is continually just experimenting with when to bring in those kind of emotional spark plugs and when to bring in Rozier and Smart and Morris. And even Baines, I think, can fulfill that role, you know, getting a couple block shots, pumping everybody up with his hairstyle.
With his top knot, with his millennial mullet.
By the way, he's adjusted. Sometimes he wouldn't wear the top knot. He'd just, like, saw him wearing it with a headband and just slick back. Anyways, I still, in Brad we trust, I still have to believe we'll put it together, but
so you're not
definitely
worried?
not where I expected us to be at this point in the season.
Are you worried?
I get a little bit more worried every day deep down, but I'm putting a brave face on.
That's so courageous of you.
Thank you.
My favorite thing that I've probably read so far this NBA season comes from something I just looked up right now.
The in-podcast research again.
Which has to do with their game against the Hawks the other night when they had like that 45-point first quarter. So obviously, they're talking a little bit here how it reminded us, obviously, like what you said, Seth, of what the Celtics could be consistently if all the pieces end up coming together. However, according to Boston.com, the Hawks are like a steroid inhaler for a bronchitis patient. A nice dose makes you feel better in the short term, but there's still a long road to actually getting healthy again.
Wow, what an analogy.
Incredible.
You're not wrong
really.
about that.
It's poetic.
So, yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, I don't know what's going on. Everyone's not really, like, gelling together like they were last year. Does this have to do with the fact that Kyrie, like we've always known, he needs the ball in his hand, and last year Terry Rozier wasn't afraid to, kind of take a back seat and just distribute the ball and let everyone else score. Whereas Kyrie now is like, he's the one that's scoring, 20 plus, 25, almost 30 points a night now, but it's at the detriment of the rest of the team. Like, no one else gets involved because he just wants to play iso ball.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like what I talked about last time we talked about the Celtics, where they might just have too many good players where nobody really knows what their role is supposed to be, and if they're going to be playing, in the fourth quarter, and if they're going to be closing out games. And sure, everyone gets, Jalen and Terry might get 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, but they're not getting the same usage as they would have been last year, right? And, everyone's on the outside seems fine with it, but I feel like only naturally that's going to kind of eat away at you, and you're kind of wondering what your role is. So, I mean, it's still very early in the season, and they have until, the spring to figure it out, but it is a little worrisome.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics make a move before the end of the season, and I think they're for sure going to be going all out for Anthony Davis in the offseason.
Yeah.
That'd be insane.
Who would they even trade for Anthony? Probably
anyone.
Probably Jalen. I bet Jason Tatum's untouchable, but
yeah, they'd try to keep Tatum,
Jalen, Gordon, and
picks.
Yeah,
Rozier. Anybody really?
And if Anthony Davis doesn't sign an extension this offseason, the Pelicans would really have no choice. So
right.
Let's move on to the Western Conference, which is just looking at the standings. There are I guess I don't have to count because the number's on the left side of the screen. There are 7 teams between 12-6 and 11-7, and then the rest of them, until you get down to the Suns, are between 8-11 and 10-8. So, I mean, that's kind of maybe what to be expected in the West when you have a collection of maybe not. Like you mentioned, Seth, the last time we talked about the NBA, maybe not the first 4 aren't as good as the East, right? But you go maybe 1 through 12, and they're all so...
the conference is deeper.
Yeah, there's no bad teams besides the Suns, right? So when you have to play those teams over and over, you kind of all just beat each other, and you end up with records like these where the top team is 12-6, and it's the Clippers.
Well, the Clippers, Thunder, and Grizzlies are all tied at 12-6.
Yeah.
Which is shocking to everyone. I still gotta feel like it's early enough in the season where all of these things are gonna kind of work themselves out, and maybe the Grizzlies are gonna surprise us and be a 6 seed, a 7 seed. And I mean, there might be only 2 games in between the 3rd seed and the 6th seed anyway, so whatever. Sure. But I still kind of believe that some of the early season trends will even out and end up a little bit more like what we thought at the beginning of the season compared to what they are now. But where the Kings would be in the playoffs and the Rockets would not.
Right. I don't think that'll happen, but I think that where the Clippers and the Grizzlies might regress, from obviously being the 1 and 2 seed in the West, I still think they can make the playoffs, and I wouldn't be all that shocked. I mean, the Clippers just have no bad players, and they just even their bench. They have 10 guys they can roll with that are good at basketball, as they say. Montrezl Harrell has taken a step forward this year. Tobias Harris is just keeps getting better at the pick and roll. Lou Williams in the fourth quarter, he's going to make clutch shots, and they've just really gelled together.
The defense of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has looked great, and Pat Beverly, and they have a deep, hardworking, competent basketball team, and that's good enough to maybe sneak into the playoffs. And with the Grizzlies,
They suck.
with the Grizzlies, I think I said this before the season. They have Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, and we've always said that if they stay healthy, that's enough to make the playoffs in the West. And they basically have nothing else this year. And
You've always
they're
said that?
I actually came out of the womb saying that. Were you there?
I was there when you came out of the womb.
Gotcha. And are you my father?
I am.
Okay, gotcha. And that's what they have this year. They have Marc Gasol, Mike Conley, and a supporting cast that doesn't really inspire you, but they're still sitting at 12-6 right now. And I think that if Mark and Mike stay healthy for 82 games, which is obviously a big question mark, and maybe it doesn't have that great of a chance of happening, but if that's the case, I think they can sneak into the playoffs.
I just don't know. Like, your team is basically 2 players, and then, like, Jaren Jackson Jr.'s looked really well. Looked really good.
Yeah, he hasn't been sick all year.
Yeah. But, and he kind of just holds down the defense, but besides that, there's just really nothing on this team that, like, scares me. I mean, Marc Gasol's been playing really well as of late, as has Mike Conley. Like, they wanted him to start shooting more, and that's exactly what he's doing. And he's making those shots like Conley used to do. But like you said, I don't know if they can stay healthy for 82 games. And even if they do, with this Western Conference, it's going to be hard to attain that or keep that, 3rd seed that they're at right now, and even make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a bloodbath. I mean, the way I'm looking at it now, you could have 14 teams make the playoffs?
Actually, you can only have 8.
Oh, I see.
Per conference.
I mean, the only team, gun to my head, which is happening right now, Kyle's holding a gun to my head. The only team that I would say I definitely am confident will not make the playoffs is the Suns. I mean, could you see the Mavericks or Timberwolves sneaking in? Could you see the Grizzlies or the Clippers, like we just talked about, sneaking in? I guess maybe the Kings, too. I would say they're not going to make the playoffs. But other than that,
I think the Kings have a better shot at making the playoffs than the Grizzlies do.
Really?
Yeah.
You want to make the case for that?
I don't know.
Buddy Hield has been lighting it up.
Mm-hmm. Buddy Hield's been incredible for them. They're finally starting to actually utilize Marvin Bagley off the bench. I mean, he's basically playing with only one hand because that's the only hand he shoots with. But he's still been putting up near double-doubles the last couple nights.
De'Aaron Fox is
incredible. Like, his outpouring of basically everything offense this year has been a huge step up from last year, and I think that has to do with, like, they've embraced, we're a young team, so what are we going to do? We're just going to run and gun. Like, they don't play the best defense, but they have the offensive weapons to be able to keep up with teams that are going to run and gun with them. And, like, I just completely lost my train of thought.
All of this is very disappointing for me because the Celtics have their draft pick next year.
That's
and
true.
It does not look like it's going to be super high anymore. But who knows? Maybe they'll realize that they're the Kings and they can't actually win.
It shocks me that you guys think that the Grizzlies will regress more than the Kings.
I don't know.
I'm shocked.
I didn't say that.
I just think after watching the beginning of the season, like, I really like what I'm seeing out, in Sacramento. And like I said, they've embraced their youth and they're taking full advantage of it and just trying to outrun teams, and they have the players to allow them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they make the playoffs, I don't think they make it past the first round, but
sure.
I think that they have what it takes to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I see it kind of like the Lakers of last year, where they started off pretty well, young team running a lot, and everyone was like, "Oh, are they for real?" And then they just kind of fall back to earth because these young, inexperienced players just aren't ready to win like that. But I mean, it would be a nice story if they made the playoffs.
Where are people when they fall back to earth?
They're usually on the moon.
Oh, okay.
It's like when Neil Armstrong went on the moon. Have you seen First Man?
The Lakers.
The movie?
I have not.
Okay, so he went to the moon with the Lakers.
Really?
Yeah, and then they fell back to earth.
And I completely forgot they got Bogdanovich back a couple games ago.
Yeah, I have him on my bench in fantasy basketball for all of his injury, and then as soon as he got healthy, I dropped him. It's a cutthroat league out there.
And, like, that's going to add another dimension, like, more outside shooting for that team that's already been doing pretty well. Like you said, Buddy Hield's been outstanding. He looks like the Buddy Hield from college. That's what he looks like now.
Well, he's really unlocked now that De'Aaron has taken a step forward, and he can just, be a pure shooter.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just don't think they have
a night against the Warriors.
Yeah, I just don't think they have the talent to make the playoffs in the West. Should we talk about the Jazz, who are in 14th right now?
Why is that?
Well, it seems like
Have they won 4 games in the last 11?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that the 14th worst record?
I think that maybe we
14th
overvalued the
worst,
Jazz a little bit coming off of last year because they went on a tear at the end of the season. I think it was 26-9 or something up to that end. And they started the season very poorly. And what they probably are is somewhere right in the middle of those two streaks. And they have the chance to be elite defensively. They haven't looked at it yet, but I think they'll probably be in the top 10 or top 5 when it's all said and done. But offensively, they struggle a bit because Ricky, not Thicky, but Ricky can't shoot, and Donovan is kind of going through maybe not a sophomore slump, but just defenses are paying more attention to him. He's having trouble being efficient on offense, and I think some of that is just that we had an expectation that he'd make a big leap, right? But maybe, progress isn't always linear, and he's perhaps stayed the same or gotten a little worse from last year, and he should be their main offensive threat, so they've been struggling on that end of the floor.
Jazz are 2-5 at home. Basically the only team in the West, the only team other than the Suns in the West to have a losing record at home.
Mm-hmm.
Utah, what's going on? You got to show up to the games, get your team going.
Well, the problem is that when opposing teams come to Salt Lake City, there's nothing to do at night, so they're well rested for the game the next day.
Could be it.
Yeah, so kind of talking about the defense. Last year, obviously, Utah was known for their defense. They were the top-rated defensive team in the NBA, and now this year, about a quarter of the way through the season already, they're 14th, and they have the 5th worst offensive rating as well. So it's just like nothing's clicking, and I think I was reading something the other day that said kind of teams after having a season playing Utah last year, they know what to expect, and they're able to game plan a lot better for them. Teams are now attacking Rudy Gobert at the rim, which they really weren't doing last year, and they've been pretty successful doing it too. So it's like, and Ricky Rubio, he hasn't been that great on defense either. So like pick and roll situations, it's been really tough for them to defend, and I think that's kind of like one of their biggest downfalls is like what we're seeing with Denver this year, how their pick and roll defense has improved immensely, and their records show and their games have shown that. We're seeing a breakdown of that in Utah, and we're seeing the exact opposite.
I gotta think they still make the playoffs, though, right?
It's a tough division.
I would say more likely than not, but I wouldn't bet on it.
I just don't know in the West. I mean, I would think the Rockets are out of the playoffs right now. We definitely think they'll be into the top 4, right?
Yeah. I still think it'll be Warriors, Rockets, Blazers, Lakers, Pelicans, Spurs,
Thunder, probably.
Clippers, Thunder.
How many teams
Have I named 10 yet?
How many teams have you named? Oh, man, we should just go to the format where you just have 16 teams in general so that we can get the deserved teams into the playoffs from the West.
Yeah, You know what? I don't know what's going to happen because, you know what? It hasn't happened yet.
Oh, my God. So you're not a Nostradamus of yourself?
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know. So I actually wanted to touch on this, which we haven't yet. The Warriors, 13-7 right now, in 4th in the West, but really ostensibly tied with 3 other teams for first. And KD and Draymond had their little spat. What is that, a week ago? About half a week ago?
About a week ago.
Are we worried at all? Because I'm not, but should we be? Also, Steph has been out, and he's really the engine that runs this team, so I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like this could be possibly the early beginnings of the downfall of the Warriors. Like what's happening in Washington right now, the team just has absolutely no chemistry, and Draymond's not helping that in Golden State. There's obviously tension between at least him and KD, I don't think KD doesn't look like to me like he even wants to. I mean, we know that after this year, 99% chance he moves, he goes to another team.
Do you think it's a 99% chance?
Yeah.
Why would you leave? Okay, let's say they.
I don't think it's 99. I think it's.
I don't think he knows.
60 maybe, especially now. Like, I don't think this whole thing worries me about them this season. Like, I still think they'll have the number 1 seed and be the favorite to win.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it makes it more likely now in my mind for KD to leave. But Kyle, why do you tell us why you're so confident?
I like I said, I just think kind of Draymond finally coming out and especially in the middle of a game, speaking his mind and just for no reason bringing up the fact that like you're not here, like your mind, like not with the team or whatever the hell he said, and pissed off KD. It's like, why would he stay in a situation after this year with the Warriors and have to put up with Draymond's shit any longer when he can go to the Lakers and join LeBron and be arguably just as good as the Warriors then with both of them on the team, and if Lonzo develops even more and you got Brandon Ingram as well. I
don't think he would ever. I don't think he would ever join the Lakers, though. I don't think he would ever join LeBron.
Why not?
Because he sees himself as the main foil to LeBron, the main rival to LeBron, the new best player in the league, and I think he wants. I mean, I don't know Kevin Durant's feelings, but I think I think that he wants his own team without other superstars. To me, that would be the reason why he left.
But he's on a team full of superstars.
Exactly. To me, that would be the reason why he left, was to go somewhere like the Knicks or the Clippers, where it's a franchise that hasn't won recently or maybe ever, that franchise that might be a joke in the league, and that he can come to a team by himself or as the main superstar and carry them to the finals. If I were him, that might be a reason I leave. But to me, if they win the finals, why would you leave? You have a chance to win. You have a chance to win 6 and 7 or 7 and 8. Honestly, if you keep this team together, so I mean, it would be unprecedented for sure, and it would be a bold choice to leave a dynasty to try to get your own, make a name for yourself elsewhere.
He already has a name though, so
yeah, that was a poor choice of words, but but you know what I mean. I mean, it's just to leave a dynasty. I don't know why you do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think there's obviously been so many talks of KD leaving after this year, and it's obviously evident to some players in the locker room too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I gotta listen to what other players are also saying or thinking, and when your own teammates are the ones saying stuff about it.
Do you think that's more like a media hype, or do you think that they're hearing that from Kevin Durant's circle?
I don't know. I couldn't say. I'm not the Brian Windhorst to Kevin Durant.
You're not?
What do you think, Seth?
I think he'll probably leave, but I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't. So I think 99% is a bold thing to say. But
yeah,
and I would be surprised if he goes to the Lakers. I don't know.
I just
there's really no one clear option.
You're gonna leave a team that's the favorite in the league by far and has a clear path to a dynasty better than the Bulls even?
Yeah, I think he might stay.
What?
99% chance he stays.
We'll see.
If I were him, I would certainly stay, but I'm not Kevin Durant.
Holy shit. I thought you were Kevin this whole time.
You guys have any other teams you want to really hit on in the West? It's just wide open.
I think we just got to see what happens, man.
The Lakers have looked improved.
Yeah.
Have they, though? It's pretty much just been LeBron.
Yeah, that's
LeBron's
true.
actually trying.
Yeah, it's true. I had talked previously about how he doesn't seem to be
talked previously to LeBron, and he said, yeah, I'm going to start trying.
In one of our nighttime conversations, he often texts me at 3 a.m., you up, and I'm there for him when he needs me.
That used to be me.
Yeah. But, he. It's funny when your best player and the best player in the world starts trying how you can start to win games, huh?
Yeah. Pretty funny.
All right. Any other thoughts, boys, gentlemen, friends, colleagues, peers?
I think that'll about do it.
Me too. We talked NBA pretty recently, so
Yeah,
there hasn't
just
been any
had to
crazy things that come up.
just had to really catch up our 5 fans and what's happened in the last week or so.
We've just been sitting around waiting, wondering what was happening.
Would you say their breath has been baited, or
I would not.
otherwise? Got it.
What about Kevin Durant though? During that Mavericks game, going over to the sidelines and telling that fan to shut the fuck up and just watch basketball.
He's not wrong.
Yeah,
Kevin
but
says it like it is.
since when has he been that type of player?
For a while now, actually. Ever since he moved to Golden State, the first year, I think
After the first year.
I think the first year he expected to be kind of like loved after he won a championship, and he thought that would make everything fine. But then he was like, "Oh wait, the fans still hate me. Well, I guess I'm the villain now." And I feel like he's been really like more upfront and speaking his mind now.
Yeah,
That's what it seems like on Bill Simmons' podcast anyway.
Yeah, when he
So we get all our ideas.
yeah, obviously.
So basically, what we're saying is, don't listen to Bill Simmons' podcast.
Absolutely
Listen to
not.
us.
Under
are-
no circumstances.
This is basically the highlights. So. All right.
Well, this has been another podcast that no one asked for, no one needed, and no one deserved.
Do you think they want it though?
No.
All right, good. All right, boys.
Yeah, I'm stuck from all that za. Peace.